Let me begin by expressing my gratitude to my good friend here, Kevin, for the opportunity to address your meeting today. As the son of Africa and the first ED of this fund that has been in the making for 2 decades, you can imagine how proud I am to be standing here and addressing you as the first ED. But I cannot take the whole credit because Africa has been pushing for this fund for the past 3 decades. And the fact that it has seen the day, it is certainly a testament of what we can do when we come together as a continent. And I recall at the African Climate Summit in Nairobi, the African heads of state were pushing for this. So it's only justice that the first ED come from the continent, and that is why I'm extremely proud to be here. Now, when I was invited to make some remarks, I was trying to find the connection between carbon market and what I do, which is loss and damage. And the connection that I see when you reduce the global emission, we have less losses and damages to deal as a fund, which allows us to focus on some of the priorities of the countries across the most vulnerable nations, as Kevin knows quite well. I want to make a couple of remarks, starting first of all with the problem that we're trying to address. Unfortunately, while we are having this conversation here, extreme weather conditions are not getting better, they're getting worse. Tropical cyclone in Madagascar, a drought in the Horn of Africa, flood in some parts of Africa, and what all these disasters have in common is the human face to climate change. And that is the millions of people who are affected by something that we have not caused, as you said, less than 4%. And this is the reality we're dealing with. And then second, there's also the non-economic losses that have happened across the continent because of climate change. So the big question is, what are the solutions? In my view, it's a combination of different actions. One that I will start with, which is really the result of our fund, is global solidarity. It's extremely critical in addressing climate crisis. Our fund has seen the day because of global solidarity. We were able, within less than 2 years, to set up a fund that has the board, has pledges, but also has the executive director. And that is a sign that when we come together in global solidarity, we can move mountains. And I believe that in the carbon market, with the leadership of the bank, certainly we can get also the global solidarity to work for carbon market in the continent. I think second, it is extremely critical, in my view, to foster complementarity and coordination as we actually respond to this crisis. It is now established, not one fund alone, not one institution alone can do this. So we do actually have to come together, and that is why we at the fund strongly believe that complementarity is the best way to avoid duplication by putting government on the forefront in identifying their needs so we can support them. I think third, we also have to do our part. As a fund, we've decided, from what we've mobilized so far, to launch our early intervention out of $250 million, which will help us to begin supporting countries. And that support will focus entirely on extreme weather conditions in rapid response, slow onset in some cases, but providing grant to countries so they can actually respond rapidly. Now, I'm fully aware that the funding instrument that we require to respond to climate crisis is not grant alone. We need concessional financing. We need parametric insurance in some cases. We need at least other products. But what's important here, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's really important that we make sure we foster all this product so we can deliver. So we, as a fund, we talk the talk and walk the walk and decided to launch our early intervention with the hope that by COP20 we'll begin to make some disbursement and demonstrate the fund has moved from talk to action. Last two remarks I want to make is that for us to respond adequately, we require billions of dollars. As of today, our fund has mobilized $766 million, voluntary contributions. But what we want to be is in the billions of dollars so we can respond to losses and damage. So highly capitalized fund is extremely important for us to meet our demand. But you agree with me, with the changing landscape of the donor community, it is clear that the usual entrepreneurship as we know it is not going to work. So we need to look at philanthropy, private sector, and other sources of funding so we can mobilize those billions. And I hope with the bank's leadership, wherever that leadership will be, we'll certainly work together in delivering on behalf of the most vulnerable countries. Let me finish by saying this. Our fund has no intention to be on implementing some of the funding that we're providing. And this is why I see the biggest value addition of the African Development Bank, working with the countries we're trying to support so that we can provide the resources, we can co-finance opportunities, we can help countries to identify their needs so that in the end, we can provide them support. So no matter what we say, one thing I want to leave as a message, there's a human face to climate change. We have no choice in leaving no one behind because the most vulnerable people depend so much on us and we can't fail them. So I look forward to your conversation and see how we can work together with African Development Bank. Thank you very much.